Today, as we continue with some of the top shows of the 10-Minute Teacher, this is especially for all of you in summer school. Today, for episode 511, we are pulling from the 10-Minute Teacher Vault, an awesome show with Barbara Blackburn, motivating struggling learners in summer school and every day. The 2019 Teacher's Guide to Technology is here from my friend, Jennifer Gonzalez. Go to coolcatteacher.com/guide and stay tuned for more.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
Today, we're talking with my friend, Dr. Barbara Blackburn, about her book, Motivating Struggling Learners, 10 Ways to Build Student Success. Barbara, how do we start when we have those students who are struggling? Because we're actually coming up on summer school, and some teachers are really going to have those kids who have struggled all year long, and they're going to think, you know what, how is a couple more weeks going to make a difference? How can they reach those kids?
You know, it's hard. I think the first thing that you have to remember is that in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a limit to how much you can do. So don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect with it. What I do think, though, is that we can make progress. Really, the foundation of motivation is getting to know the students. And it's not getting to know them just so you can say you know who they are. It's getting to know them so you can tap into their motivation. We often say, this student just isn't motivated. Well, everybody's motivated. They're just not motivated by what we want them to be motivated by. That's different. Students, well, adults for that matter, but students are motivated by two things. They're motivated by value and by success. So we need to get to know them so that we can meet those needs. So with value, how do we help them see the real life connections? How do we provide activities? Because students see more value in activities more than sit and get. With success, how can we tap into ways that they have already been successful and build on that? And what can we learn about how they have failed and help them circumvent those things? If nothing else, you've just got to spend a little bit of time on the front end doing some things to get to know them better so that you can then enhance their motivation.
And my frequent listeners are going to know what I'm about to say, which is you have to relate before you educate. That's what happens first. I love it. Okay, what's our next way?
The next way is then to attack those two issues. It really is. It's to say, let's start with success. It's to say, what am I going to do as a teacher to remove all of the stumbling blocks to success for those students? If the stumbling block is their own feelings of failure, then one of the things I'm going to do, and I'm not going to take long, I'm going to take 5 minutes for this, is I'm either going to let them write it or I'm going to let them record it onto technology, or I'm going to let them just tell me. But I'm going to have them list all of the ways that they've been successful. And if they say, I haven't been, then I'm going to say, I'm sure you have. And I'm going to guide them with a couple of questions and get them there. So I'm going to have them list all the successes and put that somewhere. Again, it can be technology-wise and recorded, but I'm going to have to put it somewhere where they can revisit it. Then I'm going to talk about, now you've been successful when you did this. This is very similar. Let's keep doing it. I'm going to build on the successes they've already done. The other thing I'm going to do is I want them to catch a vision for success. This really works with everybody third grade and up, Vicki. It's when I do workshops, it's one of teachers' favorite ideas. I'm going to have them, and I'm going to probably do this the first day. I'm going to ask them to write a letter to me. They could write a letter, draw pictures, make a list, whatever they want to do. But I want them to imagine it's the last day of summer school. And I want them to tell me why summer school for them was good. Why were they successful in summer school? And that's not only going to build a relationship with me, it's going to help me figure out what to do to remove those obstacles to success. Yes. So that's the second piece I'm really going to focus on.
Catching that vision is so hard because some kids who struggle, they just don't have hope, do they?
Right. They don't. And so if they're stuck, I'm going to have a handy dandy little list of some ideas that they can have. And what I'm going to use the vision letters for is really to talk to them. And I may do it in a large group, a small group. I may grab some kids individually, depending on what I'm seeing. Those that have no hope, I'm probably going to pull them and try to grab a couple of minutes with them. But I'm going to talk to them about how, you know what, we can make this happen because we're going to do this together. Because oftentimes they have not felt like anyone has really been in their corner. And that doesn't mean they haven't had good teachers. It just means that they didn't really feel that connection where they thought somebody was going to be there for them, helping them along the way. And my best friend and I talk about that. We do a lot of believing in kids. We believe kids are going to do better. But we talk about that sometimes believing in a student is not enough. Sometimes you also have to believe for a student. And you really have to get them to come along for the ride.
Okay, so what happens when you have those teachers who are working with the struggling learners and the teachers don't feel like they have any hope because the teachers are exhausted? How can they change their own attitude? Because here's the thing, that we have to have passion. We have to have excitement. We have to have belief. We have to have all these things. But sometimes the teacher might say, you know what, I don't know if I can do this. This student just has so many issues.
Yeah, it's interesting because motivating teachers is just like motivating students. You've got to tap into value and success. With teachers, when I talk about motivation, it's, all right, how can you keep yourself motivated? Because nobody else is going to do it for you. So one, let's tap into your value. They should write a vision letter to themselves about why summer school was successful. What did they do? What happened with the kids? What made it the best summer school experience they'd ever had? They need to do that. They can revisit that. I suggest that they do the same thing, that they make a success list. List every student you've ever taught who struggled that you helped turn around so that you can remember that you have done this before and keep that vision in place. That also feeds into the success. Remember, you've been successful. And, tapping into those two things and making a list of what do you know has worked? Because summer school is not necessarily the time to say, ooh, I've never done this before. Maybe I'll just try this. I mean, sometimes it is, but I want to go with some things that I know work. As long as it's not drill and kill, I don't want to do that. But I do want to try to do some things if I know that interactive reading works, even if I don't feel like I've got time for it in summer school, it's an important thing to do. If I know that playing games with vocabulary leads to a deeper understanding, I need to do that. What I don't need to do is fall back on worksheets and them just sitting and being passive learners so that I can get through everything. And I don't necessarily need to, and it's not that I don't like the latest, greatest new things, but when you've got a limited amount of time with kids, I sort of default to do what you know works.
Absolutely. Very much.
And then that keeps you motivated.
Yeah. And Barbara, I love this idea of a vision letter to yourself because, actually, I'm sitting here thinking, I need to write a vision letter to myself about my summer. I need to write a vision letter to myself about lots of things. And I think that's such a fantastic idea because you're kind of following Stephen Covey's principle of begin with the end in mind, right?
Yeah. And I actually do that activity when I'm working with teachers because usually I'm talking about rigor and motivation. And rigor is one of those dirty words that nobody wants to talk about. And so I'll have them write a vision letter. Imagine it's the last day of school. Write it to a friend. And what happened? What made it your best year ever? What did you do? What did the students do? How did you make it happen? And how did it make you feel? So you tap into the emotion that goes with it. And then you can go back and revisit it. And what I talk to principals about is, hey, sit down with your teachers. Ask them to share their vision letters. And your question to them as a leader is, how can I help you accomplish that? So it's a great activity to do with everybody, but I'll tell you, it'll connect you with kids in a way that you would just be totally surprised by.
So Barbara, as we finish up, could you give us a 30-second pep talk? If we're getting ready to walk into class in 5 minutes with a struggling learner, give us a pep talk to get us ready for that moment when we need to engage and really bring it.
I'm going to share with you a quote from a friend of mine. He is a coordinator of an alternative school. So they deal with the kids who basically aren't in regular schools anymore. And he tells his teachers this every morning. He says, on your worst day, you are someone's best hope. Now, I don't think he's right. I think on your worst day, when you got up late and the kids missed the bus and you spilled coffee on your shirt and you got a speeding ticket on the way to school and the copier was broken, I don't think on that day you are some student's best hope. What I do think is this. I think after all of those things on your worst day, you walk into that classroom and for one of those students sitting there, you are their only hope. And if that doesn't keep you going, I don't know what will.
Wow. Well, let's get out there and let's help the struggling learners, because honestly, teachers, there are some kids that could sit alone in a room with a book and they can teach themselves, whether we're there or not. Maybe we can help them learn a lot more. We can help them be excited, but they could teach themselves. And then there are those kids that without us, they truly do have no hope. Thank you, Barbara.
Oh, thank you, Vicki. It's always a pleasure.
Jennifer Gonzalez has released her 2019 Teacher's Guide to Technology with over 200 education technology tools, including tools for assessment, flipped learning, presentations, parent engagement, video engagement, and more. In this guide, you get a simple description, a screenshot of the tool, and a play button that takes you to a video about how the tool works. Learn more at coolcatteacher.com/guide. Now, I am an affiliate for this product, which means I am paid a small percentage of the fee if you purchase it. This is at no additional cost to you, and I only recommend the best products for educators on the 10-Minute Teacher. So, the 2019 Teacher's Guide to Technology. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.